Is this the end of the cold distance between them? After months of puzzles, a shocking moment finally emerged that made ARMY cry with emotion. Advice from an unexpected person. You can reunite two friends who have never spoken to each other. But is this the end of an old conflict? Or is there a wound that hasn't healed behind that warm embrace? ARMY touched. Jungkook and Taehyung are back together thanks to Jimin's advice. Jimin's advice that repairs the broken bond between Taehyung and Jungkook. What's really going on behind the scenes all this time? Is it true that the friendship between Jungkook and Taehyung was on the verge of collapse? And if yes, why did it take so long for them to get back to talking like they used to? Is there anything that has been hidden from the public? Or are we all just seeing the surface of a larger storm? ARMY, who follows the development of Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship, is certainly no stranger to the cold signals that began to be felt since last year. One stage, two eyes that refuse to meet. One screen, two souls as if separated by an invisible abyss. Many speculate, but no one really knows the reason behind the change in the atmosphere. Until the end, one name appeared bringing light. Park Jimin, who all this time looks like a passive observer in this story, turns out to be harboring more than concern. It keeps the wound. It keeps crying. And, more than anything, he harbors an unflagging hope of reuniting his two best friends. That day, there was no stage. No camera. Just a quiet rehearsal space, a place where the inner voice is louder than the bass. Taehyung sat with his back to the mirror, while Jungkook stood with his hands clasped as if holding back something he had wanted to throw for a long time. Between them, Jimin walked slowly, sighing that felt heavier than usual. Will you continue like this? Ignoring each other, like your pasts never existed? The sentence came out in a calm voice, but it cut deeper than a scream. Jungkook is down. Taehyung didn't answer. But silence is louder than 1,000 words. Jimin looked at them in turn. His eyes began to glaze over. You know, I see you two as home. But the house now feels like a ruin. I can feel it every time we practice together, when you guys keep each other quiet. It hurts. Have we all been misjudged? Is it true that what looks cold is not because of hate, but because too much has not been said? Jimin continued in a trembling voice. I know you're both hurt. But are you really going to let the wound continue to gape without trying to heal it together? And just then, an unexpected miracle happened. Taehyung nodded slowly, not in anger, not in disappointment, but with visible eyes tired. It was as if he had been carrying such a heavy burden all this time. I miss you, he whispered softly, and the voice, though still, was like thunder to Jungkook's fragile heart. In an instant, Jungkook stepped forward. No words, just hugs. A hug that brings together all the emotions that have been suppressed. Their tears fell, and Jimin, who stood between them, was unable to hold back his own tears. Is this the end of the tormenting misunderstanding? Or is this just the beginning of a deeper confession? A source from the training team said that after that moment, the atmosphere in the training room changed dramatically. A small laugh began to be heard. The eyes are warm again. And most surprisingly, Taehyung and Jungkook started talking about a duet project that they had canceled a year ago. The duet, which was originally designed as a project of emotional intimacy between two friends, finally came to a standstill because, what? This question brings us back to the roots of a wound that has never really been explained. Many ARMYs speculated that their quarrel was not because of a professional thing, but because of something much more personal. Some mention the word betrayal, while others believe that it has to do with the mental pressure that they are unable to express to each other. Jimin's simple counsel. However, we hear more than a call for peace. We hear the concern of a brother. We see sincerity capable of shaking the walls of selfishness. Why Jimin? Why not their leader? Why didn't management intervene? Because sometimes the wounds between brothers can only be healed by the brothers themselves. And Jimin, in his silence, has kept every cry, every rejection, and every lost memory between two people who were once almost inseparable. Now, the question is, will it last? Is this moment of peace not just a momentary illusion wrapped in emotion? Or will we see them back on stage, not just as group mates, but as brothers who have weathered the storm and chosen not to drown? army began to speculate not with cheap gossip, but with sincere hope. Fan art about the three friends flooded the timeline again. An old video of the three of them teasing each other started going viral again. And one of the most liked comments on a forum reads, "Jimin is not just a liaison. He is the bridge that saved two sides of a heart that was about to collapse." Do you believe that one sentence can cure years of misunderstanding? Do you believe that someone like Jimin, who is known to be gentle, yet firm in his silence, is capable of being the reason why two souls come together again? This story is not finished. It may even have just begun. But one thing is certain, there is nothing stronger than a bond that has been hurt, then healed by honest love, and the army, as always, watched with tears in the eyes and a smile in the heart. Because for them, this moment is not just good news. This is the miracle they have been waiting for in silence. However, there is still one unanswered question. What exactly did Jimin say to Taehyung personally before that moment of peace happened? Dan, is that something that will change our view of their conflict over the years? Then, what exactly happened in the days before the hug happened? Why was Jimin so convinced that he had to intervene? What he saw during this time that went unnoticed by everyone, including us, the observers, the fans, and maybe even HYB yourself. A few days before the in-depth incident occurred in the training room, there was a moment of silence that was captured by a fan's camera unintentionally. A fan video from the airport showed Jimin holding a cell phone with a serious expression, glancing at Taehyung, who was walking by himself without saying anything to Jungkook, who was just standing not far behind him. No eye contact. No interaction. Done? No smiles. Was it a turning point for Jimin? Does he realize that their time is too short to spend in silence? Jimin himself, in an old interview that has now returned viral, once said, "There is nothing more painful than losing someone who is alive, whom you can still see every day, but feels like it is no longer with you." Is the sentence aimed at Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship? And furthermore, did Jimin also harbor fears that the friendship that had been the foundation of their strength would completely collapse if left untreated for too long? Day by day, Jimin began to write. A letter. Not an ordinary letter, but a handwritten one containing all the memories of the three of them. The letter was never intended to be published. However, a source from the studio staff said that Jimin handed the letter to Taehyung 2 days before they met in the rehearsal room. And to his surprise, the same letter was also found in Jungkook's locker. "Read with your heart, not just your eyes," Jimin wrote at the end of the letter. And no one knows for sure the full contents of the letter, but a small snippet leaked among staff reveals something very personal. "I know you don't feel heard, but I also know you guys listen to each other, just in different ways. Taehyung, you miss Jungkook. And Jungkook, you're angry not because of hate, but because you can't convey your rind properly. You are not enemies. You are part of each other's souls." Is it possible that one letter can change everything, and even more heart-wrenching? Could it be that Taehyung and Jungkook have just been caught in a misunderstanding that is further compounded by outside pressure? Many fans believe that all of this stems from a small incident exaggerated by their busy lives, differing perspectives, and most painfully, a mutual sense of disillusionment that was never publicly conveyed. Some have referred to it as a studio incident, in which Taehyung allegedly changed the arrangement of their duet songs without talking to Jungkook about it first. An artistic decision that ends up turning into an emotional distance, but after the letter, something began to change. A behind-the-scenes video from a recent rehearsal shows Taehyung chuckling as Jungkook makes a mistake in the choreography. For casual fans, it may be just a small moment, but for the army that has been waiting for months, it was a light that came back to shine after being extinguished for too long. And then came an unexpected moment of recognition. During a live training session, when Jungkook was asked to say a single sentence describing his final week, he only spoke softly, "I feel like I'm back home." Suddenly, the comment made the atmosphere quiet. Army around the world instantly flooded social media with questions. Is it about Taehyung? Jimin himself never claimed a major role in the reconciliation. He only smiled when asked by one of the staff, "Were you the one who brought them back together?" The answer is simple, but it gives goosebumps. "I just remind them who they really are." The rest, it was their decision to go back to holding each other's hands. Now, The question that hangs over everyone's mind is, how will this relationship continue? Will they really return to the old dynamics? Or will a new version of Taehyung and Jungkook? So, what exactly did Jimin say to Taehyung personally before that moment of peace happened? An internal source very close to them mentioned that before Jimin brought them together in the rehearsal room that day, he first spoke to Taehyung in person. Not in the studio, not in the rehearsal room, but in a very private place, the balcony of Taehyung's apartment. Under the silent night sky, with a cup of hot tea in hand and the sound of the Seoul breeze blowing softly, the two friends sat side by side, yet as if separated by something much colder than the autumn breeze. "Hyung," Jimin said quietly, breaking the silence, "I know you want him to come first. But you know, right? He's too hard on himself to apologize first." Taehyung didn't answer right away. His gaze gazed far into a city that never really slept. His eyes were glazed, but he wasn't crying. There's a wound there, a wound that can only be seen by people who really know him. "I'm not angry because he's wrong," Taehyung replied at last slowly. "I'm angry because of him. Go when I need him." The word "go" hung in the air like a mist. Jimin was silent, letting it settle. Because he knows it's not about schedules, not about projects, not about work. It's about the heart. That time, Taehyung continued, when everything felt chaotic, when I doubted even myself, he's moving away. Shut up. As if I'm nothing to him. Jimin let out a long sigh, then said, "You know why he was silent? Because he's scared. He's afraid of hurting you with something he didn't mean to say. Because he's broken, too, Tae. You're both hurt and, unfortunately, do not cure each other. But stay away from each other." Taehyung closed his eyes. "You know, from the beginning, you were his last wall. But when the wall cracked, he was confused. Where to lean?" That night, Jimin's words were not answered with words, only with the first teardrop falling from Taehyung's cheek, silently. And Jimin just pat him on the shoulder. Light, but enough to convey that it won't let it collapse. And the next day, the conversation continued, not with Taehyung alone, but with Jungkook. The question now, if their wounds were that deep, why is everything open now? Because not all wounds heal with time. Some wounds actually grow if kept. And Jimin knows, if he does not act now, there will be no more we in the future. With a voice full of empathy, Jimin approached Jungkook, who was alone in the recording room. He knew it wasn't a coincidence. He knew Jungkook was waiting, but didn't know how to start. "You still remember when you first debuted? Who was the first person to say you'd be okay?" asked Jimin. "Taehyung Hyung," Jungkook replied, without hesitation. "It's quiet. And who is the first to know that you cry after a bad performance in Japan?" Jungkook looked up. "Taehyung as well." Then Jimin asked again, more slowly, almost like a whisper, "Then why are you now even moving away from him?" Jungkook is down. There was a long pause before he finally said, "Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid he doesn't want me around anymore. Scared. I was the one who disappointed him. He's more disappointed that you're silent," Jimin said firmly. "It's not because you're wrong." And that's where it all started. Small conversations, which culminate in large meetings. When Jimin finally reunited them, he already knew the risks. That it could have all failed. That they might fight again. Jimin doesn't care. Because for Jimin, the three of them are not just colleagues. They're family. And family will not be silent when his brothers move away from each other. The army began to realize something was different from then on. Little moments come back. Like when Taehyung turned his head and smiled slightly at Jungkook at the end of the rehearsal. Or when Jungkook accidentally touches Taehyung's shoulder, and Taehyung doesn't dodge as usual, but has everything really recovered. Jimin, in an exclusive interview, which has never been released to the public and is only recorded in the personal memoirs of a staffer, wrote an electrifying line, "Sometimes what is broken cannot be returned as before. But if assembled with love, that new form can be stronger than ever." The sentence is now a mystery to the army. Is Jimin coding that Taehyung and Jungkook's relationship is different from before? More mature? More understanding? Or is it colder, but awake with caution? To be sure, The duet project, which was once cancelled due to personal problems, is now rumored to be in the final mixing stage.